What's going on, guys? I consider myself a jack of all trades, but my name's Jeff, so welcome back to Jeff of All Trades. Today we're going over the Beretta M9A4. This is a gun I've been trying to get my hands on for a long time. I couldn't justify buying it because I already have the 92 FS, but one of my viewers found this gun, purchased it for themselves, and actually gave it to me before they even put a round through it. So I'm very thankful for them. I'm really excited to have my hands on it, go over a few things I like about it, maybe a few things I don't like. In a future video, I would like to compare this to the 92 FS to let you know if it's worth your money. But for this video, we're going to go over the teardown, the oil points, and of course, a nice deep cleaning of this to get all that factory oil off of here and get it ready for the range. Let's jump right into it. I'm very excited to have this gun in my hands finally. The Beretta M9A4 is one that I've had my eyes on for a long time. I've never purchased it myself, so luckily somebody has bought the gun and I've been lucky enough to get my hands on it today to be able to take it apart, do some oil points for it, and just get my hands on this gun. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to fire it yet. That'll be coming soon when I do the comparison of this and the 92 FS. But right off the bat, let's go ahead and get this thing safe and take it apart and get to the oil points and the cleaning of this weapon. As I said, the first thing you want to do is go ahead and make sure the weapon is cleared. To do that, first thing you need to do is remove the magazine if there is one in there. Do that by simply depressing the magazine release. The magazine will pop right out. Secondly, you want to pull the slide back and verify there is nothing in the barrel itself. Verify that you have no magazine, and then again verify that the barrel is completely empty. At that point, you can be confident that the weapon is clear and that you're ready to disassemble this weapon. It's very simple to do, probably one of the easiest pistols you can take apart in my opinion, because there's 2 steps to take it apart. With some guns you have to have this hold, pull it back a certain degree, make sure you pull down the pins the right way. That can be really difficult on your hands, hard to pull down. With this gun, it's as simple as depressing the button on this side, right in front of the trigger on the right hand side of the weapon. Depress that button, and at the same time, flip this arm in the downward position. As it stands, you can do it without doing anything to the slide. Press the button, push the lever down, and that'll release the slide. It's that simple. If you want it to be a little easier on you, you can put a little tension on that spring so everything moves freely. Go ahead and again depress that button, flip this down, and the slide will release. Once the slide's released, you can go ahead and put this to the side. Give a little tension to this spring by pushing towards the muzzle of the weapon and pull up at the same time. Make sure you hold tension. There's quite a bit in this spring here. Go ahead and take the spring out. And then to remove the barrel, which seems stuck at this point, you never want to force anything when it comes to a weapon. You want to go ahead and depress this button on the back here, and that will release the slide from the barrel itself, and the barrel will move freely. Take the barrel, pull it out towards the back of the gun, and the barrel comes out. Now with this is very nice. On most weapons that have a threaded barrel, the thread cap is actually larger than the barrel itself, so it needs to be removed before removing it from the slide. In this case, with Beretta's design, it's actually flush with the barrel itself, so you do not need to remove this thread cap unless you are going to put a suppressor or a compensator or a muzzle brake on it. If you're just going to do a typical field strip of this weapon, you can leave that on, which is very nice to see. All the more reason to love Beretta in my opinion. Let's get right into cleaning it. Once you have everything taken apart, you want to go ahead and get into a little bit of a cleaning on it. So this came in from factory, brand new gun, never been shot before, and honestly it doesn't look that bad. You can see a little bit of a bleeding right there of the oil. You can see a lot of oil on here. It's not as bad as some guns I've seen in the past, which I'm actually very, very surprised of. You can see a lot of the oil seeping out on top here, but it's not as bad as it could be. But we still want to get all that factory oil off and put on your own oil the way it's supposed to be done and give this a nice cleaning from factory. Typically when it comes in from factory, they really soak them down because they don't know how long this is going to sit there. It could sit there for a month or 2 years without being sold. They don't want anything to go bad, and they want to make sure that it's ready to shoot the second it comes out of the box. That's why it's important to get all this factory oil off. It's some cheap oil grease that they put on it, and we want to get rid of that and put our own high quality directly on the points that are needed to make sure that it's going to fire for a long time and fire correctly. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and work on the frame. I like to take a little bit of Ballistol, which is it's a lubrication, a cleaner, it's everything in one, but I like to use this as just a cleaner to get everything off and get a nice deep scrub on the gun. So first thing you're going to do is just kind of spray all the inside of it, spray all your components up here, and make sure everything gets a nice coating. You can be as liberal as you want because you are going to wipe all of this off. And then go ahead and take a brush. I have a nylon brush because this gun is brand new, hasn't been shot, we don't have anything caked up on it, we don't have any residue from the bullets, we don't have any gunpowder, dirt sitting in there. We're just getting rid of that oil. If you do have something that needs a little bit more abrasion, feel free to use one of these metal brushes, as obviously you can see that this one's been used quite a bit. But go ahead and get all those hard-nicked dirt off of there, some of the carbon that's built up on it. But for this, we're just going to use nylon, and we're just going to give it a nice even scrub all the way around. Just like that, everything's scrubbed down pretty good. Next, we want to go ahead and take our rag and go ahead and get all of that lubrication and all of that oil we just sprayed on there off. Go ahead and get it as dry as you can. And just like that, completely dry, nothing on it, and that's the way we want it for now. All that old oil is off of there, all that shipping oil is gone, nice and dry, so we can do it the way that we want it to be. Now we'll move on to the next two pieces. Next one we want to do is the barrel itself. You see everything on there, you can actually see how gunked up it is already, if I can get that to focus. You can see all those lines in there. Nothing on here is added. This is just from factory, and this is what I'm talking about. That's just way too much to be on there in my opinion. Everybody oils their guns differently, but we don't want ours looking like that. So let's go ahead and do a quick clean on that and get the barrel all cleaned up. At this time, I'm also going to clean the barrel, the inside of the barrel of the gun, even though you can see it's pretty much as clean as it can get because nothing's been shot through it. But just because, let's go ahead and run a bore snake through it. This is a bore snake. It's got everything you need on it to clean a barrel. I highly recommend it. It's made from, well, this one particularly is from Hops No. 9, but you can buy these any brand. You can buy them from any store, Amazon, and they run through any caliber gun you have. It's very simple. You run it through the barrel, pull it through. It uses this metal abrasion on it to scrape off any built up carbon or dirt that you have inside the barrel. Then it cleans everything out, and then at the end it just squeegees out all the oil that you're going to put on it and make it nice and clean. So I highly recommend this instead of shoving a brush through it a few times. Whenever I clean my barrels, I always go the path of the bullet. So if this is in your gun, and this is the muzzle, or where the bullet's going to come out of, you always want to run your bore snake the path of the bullet. So you're going to put it through this way, and pull the way the bullet would go. So with a bore snake, simply lay it out, go past the metal bristles there, and spray a little bit of cleaning solution on this part. Just make sure you can get the inside of the barrel coated. Go ahead and get your bore snake, following the path of the bullet, and run it straight through. It should be a little tight, but not so tight you're going to tear the bore snake. If this was a very dirty barrel, I'd run it through 4 or 5 times, put the solution on again, run it through a few more times. Since this is a brand new barrel, we're just going to run it twice. Get any oil from the factory that might be in there. And that's all it needs. And now you have a perfectly clean barrel every time. I highly recommend the bore snake. You could clean the spring here. Just spray a little bit of cleaner on that, rub it all the way off. Since this is brand new, all I'm going to do is take this, put it in a microfiber cloth, and just get any of that old oil off. As I said before, this is actually one of the best guns that I've seen from factory. Sometimes they are literally dripping in oil. This doesn't seem to be the case with this one, so we got very lucky with this one. Now that we have the frame done, the barrel, your spring components, last thing we have to do is the upper slide itself. So all we're going to do is the same thing. Go ahead and spray some solution in both ends of these rails here, and then up in the top rail here, a little bit where the firing pin comes out on, and go ahead and give it a good scrub down. All right, now that everything is all cleaned, we're ready to go with a blank slate. It seems like when whoever got this gun played with it quite a bit and actually got some pretty good wear marks on it on the inside where we need to put the oil, which is great for demonstration purposes. It's a great way to know where you're supposed to put the oil without actually having a picture off of Google or something like that to show you exactly where to put oil. My rule of thumb is wherever you see wear points is where you put the oil. For example, on the 92 FS that I have, that I've had for many, many years, you can see the wear points on it. Right here, you can see the wear points down in here. Anywhere where there's shiny metal, you can see that's where there's metal on metal contact, and that's where it deserves some oil. On here as well, you can see these rails, how they're shiny. You can see everywhere that any metal has touched the gun, and that's where you want to put those oil points. You want to make sure that there has oil on this metal to metal contact where they're going to be sliding back and forth to mitigate some of that wear and tear on your weapon. And taking a look at the wear spots is a good starting place to figure out where you need to oil your weapon. My rule of thumb that a lot of people will disagree with is put the oil on and rub it off. Your gun does not need to be completely dripping wet in oil in order for it to be lubricated. A little bit goes a long way. I'm a firm believer of that, and that's how I've oiled all of my weapons. If you see in any of my other videos, you'll see that that's the rule of thumb that I stick by. So that's the rule of thumb I'm going to stick with today as well. The first thing we're going to start with is going to be the frame of the weapon itself, and we're just going to hit those high contact points. So these rails here on the outside is what holds your top slide into place. It slides over top of that, and there's a lot of action with every shot. Every time you rack the slide, it's riding on these rails. So we want to make sure we put a good amount here and here on both sides, as well as on top of these rails. But there's no reason to fill this entire reservoir full of oil and soak this entire section up here with oil. It's just going to gunk up, it's going to be tacky, and it's going to attract dirt. It's going to attract the gunpowder that's burnt from every single shot, and it's going to build up more carbon on your weapon. So first, I'm going to go ahead and put one here and here, and just one dot, and I'm not even squeezing the bottle. I'm just going to tip it over, let a ball form, just like that. And then I'm going to put one back here as well. Now at this time, you can use a Q-tip, you can use your finger, anything just to rub it all the way in on those rails. And just make sure that it's completely covered in those nooks and crannies. If you leave it like that, to each their own, I would never advise it. What I do whenever I put the oil on is I wipe it off. Now even after wiping it off, you can still see it's not all gone. I didn't take a buffer to it. It's still glistening. You can see where the oil is. If you flip to the other side, you can see the clear difference. This is completely dry on this side. There's no oil on it whatsoever. And then this is the side that we just oiled. You can see that it's glistening. You can see that it has lubrication, and that's all you need on it. Also understand we're going to put more oil on the slide itself, which is going to add to this. Flip it over, again, any contact point. So we're going to go on all top of these, and we're going to go on this one here as well. That goes actually into the slide. I like to make sure that I get this section right here. You can see on this one there's a little bit of a cutout. That's actually where the bullet gets fed from the magazine into the barrel each time. So why not lubricate that where it's going to consistently get action from a bullet going in and out. And when I'm wiping off the oil, I'm not scrubbing it as hard as I can like we did with the initial cleaning. I'm simply dabbing it to get any excess oil off. You can see when I'm done that everything is still shiny and looks well lubricated. It doesn't look oversaturated, and that's what you want to get. We're going to flip it over to this side. There's a little bit of a overspill from when we did the top rail, but since we're going to wet it off anyway, I'm just going to put another dab underneath there so I can get underneath that rail. And then we'll do another one back here. Now we'll work on the slide itself. These deep rails all the way through. You want to put a dot right in this groove here, and then one up there, and go ahead and run it all the way across the rail. Then you're going to do the same on the other side. Lastly, you want to get this section here. Put a nice daub on there. And go ahead and rub it in. And of course, rub it off. Once it's nice and glistened, and not gobbed up or dripping, the slide is done. With the barrel, before I put it on, I do like to put one dab of oil on the barrel itself. And just put one dot on there and just rub it in. On the barrel, I also like to touch, you can see here where these wear points are already just from messing around with the gun over and over, getting those natural wear marks. We're going to put a little bit on these and then on the back as well. And I think that little bit of oil is okay, but as you can see, compared to how it was before, that looks much, much better. So now let's go ahead and put this back together. The first step is to take your slide, flip it upside down, and then you want to take your barrel with all this black aiming up towards you. And go ahead and slide your barrel into this biggest hole at the bottom there. Go ahead and slide that in until the barrel falls into place. Once it falls in, if it's still a little bit loose, push it back until it falls into that slot and everything's aligned nicely. If this button, remember how we pushed that before? If this is forward, you know you've done it correctly and the barrel shouldn't move out of place. Once you're done with this, go ahead and grab your spring, put it back together. And then insert it into the bottom hole here. And go ahead, when you compress the spring, you're looking to have it sit right on that ledge here. This flat part here will sit right on that ledge, and that'll hold everything in. So go ahead and compress it. It'll be under a little bit of tension. Make sure it's nice and centered. It's not going to go anywhere. That holds everything into place. If everything's nice and square, everything's tight, you know you've done it correctly. Once your slide's put back together, go ahead and grab your frame, and you want these rails, or these slots here, to line up with these rails. So it's going to slide lined up nice and straight, nice and easy. It should slide right on. Whenever you're handling a weapon, taking it apart, putting it back together, you should never have to force anything. If you're forcing something, you're doing something incorrectly. So go ahead and slide it on. It'll meet all of the slides naturally. Go ahead and push it back. Flip your lever here. You don't have to depress the button at this time. You can simply flip this button. Actually, at this point, you can't flip the button. You have to have it depressed back so it's all the way on. So go ahead and push it back. Flip your lever. And everything's exactly the way it's supposed to be. Go ahead and pull the trigger. Function check. Make sure everything works properly. And everything's good to go. And there you have it. How to tear down, basic cleaning, and the oil points for the Beretta M9A4. I really love this gun. I can't wait to take it out to the range. Can't wait to put some rounds through it. Maybe put a suppressor on it and see what we can really do with this gun. Thank you very much for one of my followers for supporting me with this weapon. Let me get my hands on it for a while. I really appreciate it. One of my dream guns. I've always been a fan of Beretta, and this thing is amazing to hold. Can't wait to see what it does on the range. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you have one of these and if you've ended up getting your hands on it, or if you just have the 92 FS and what you think of that gun. Leave a comment down below. Make sure you're subscribed, like this video, and of course, be safe. I'll see you in the next one.